Welcome to Trinity Radio. However, we have made a terrible, terrible mistake, as often happens here at Trinity Radio with tech things.
Yeah.
And that is that we forgot to make this a public video and not unlisted, which means some of you are just finding your way here now, just coming in, maybe just right on time. I don't know. Jonathan, you're looking a little colorful there. We're going to turn you down just a little bit.
I look pretty.
But yeah, I'm hoping this is public now, and I'm hoping that you all start to show up. But right now I see that there are 4 of you here. But Jonathan, today is very important because people will see this in the future one way or the other.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people. And the important thing about that is you have put together a show today that I think is important. We've talked about for a long time, and I'm going to let you give the primary preamble to this, but so that I have something to say right here at the start, I will say that Tim Pool is a character that Jonathan and I both occasionally watch and enjoy, and always has interesting guests. That dude lines up guests something fierce. And in fact, though it could be unlikely that Tim Pool will see this, he might. Yeah. And so right at the top of the show, we just want to say, Tim Pool, I've said this about all the atheists we've responded to, even though you're not an atheist. So people should totally understand me saying it about someone like you. I really like this guy.
Yeah.
I love Tim Pool. He's got a cool vibe to him. He's got a laid back show that's very cool. Well, it's laid back except when it's not. And and so today we've noticed that both of us have noticed, but particularly Jonathan pushed this. He's a bigger fan than I am. That there are moments where Tim, even though he says that he's not a Christian or a part of any particular religion, he does believe in God, and he has said some things that we think sit a whole lot better on a Christian worldview, or he has expressed his views about some things, and we think perhaps the Christian view might work a little better if he would put those bullets in his gun. So, you want to say anything else to set that up?
Well, I've probably started watching Tim Pool back during the 2020 election. Periodically, his videos kept coming up in my Facebook feed, which means people are sharing the videos. And then I discovered about a year ago, it was that the IRL show that they have every night on YouTube.
Yeah, Timcast IRL.
Yeah, that's where they have like a roundtable discussion, and they talk about news. But I've noticed over the past year that worldview issues come up, and I actually find those more interesting than the news topics, because a lot of
course
politics.
We would, right?
Yeah.
And because all the news topics, what lies underneath those things is the worldview stuff we always talk about.
And a lot of their guests, and I think the guy from Seamus, the guy from Freedom Tunes, who's on there occasionally, have a Christian or Roman Catholic background to them or whatever, and so they do get some of that on there as well. And I know, like I think the Daily Wire people have been on there a couple times to talk about stuff, and they get into that kind of stuff. And I like that because it's one of the few places that I found on the internet or cable news or just about anywhere where the worldview issues intersect with news and politics and culture and sometimes pop culture and things like that to discuss. And you just don't find that in public discourse at very many places. So that's kind of why I'm a fan, and I don't have cable, so I don't watch cable news. So all I get is either what people talk about on Twitter, now that you have me on Twitter, which is a cesspool of evil, and then my Facebook feed, and then these independent YouTube-type journalists. I think that's what you would, or commentary or whatever.
Yeah, commentators.
So I've been getting into that, but I really do enjoy the IRL in real life thing, the roundtable discussion, because they have the worldview issues.
That's all I really watch.
Yeah. And well, he's got some news updates during the day or something. So if I get a notification and I'm sitting at my desk doing busy work, I'll turn it on. But I did notice that Tim Pool, his worldview is kind of what we'd say generic theism.
I'd say so.
Or perhaps even maybe so far as God of the Philosophers, perhaps, because it's monotheism. So we'll let him give us a general overview of his worldview, and I think that's in the first clip that we have, and then we'll.
Let's just go ahead and get to the clips. Derek wants to know, Pritchett, do I help or hurt the talk successful of Twitter?
Derek is my him and Tim the Ancient are my spirit animals on
Yeah.
Twitter. I really, they say things on Twitter that you won't let me.
That's right.
because of my
I'm a
job.
mean taskmaster.
Yes,
You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
that's true.
Okay, let's go into the little video room.
Yeah.
I'm using the Star Wars swipe sort of thing now.
Oh, okay.
All right, there's Simple, if you've never seen him before, in the flesh. And we're going to go ahead and jump in. Should I just start playing it?
Is this clip number 1?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Actually, let me make sure. Yep, it is.
All
Here we go.
I grew up Catholic briefly, and my family left the church, and I've met a whole bunch of different people from all walks of life.
Did you put this on double speed, Pritchett?
No, I put it on 1.5 speed.
Dang it, Pritchett.
I know. Well, I mean, we don't want these clips to run long.
Okay.
You know, anarcho-punk atheist types to anarcho-punk Catholics.
Uh-huh.
And they, you know, I've heard a lot of interesting thoughts, but the one thing that really stuck with me is there was, in terms of people who were spiritual, agnostic, or believed outright, is that there was a desire to discover more. and I suppose it's as simple as this. I may not be a Christian. I do believe in God.
Wait. Now, this is a good quote he's about to give, but what, have you spliced these together? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, because they're kind of in the similar.
Just keep playing them then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I suppose it's as simple as this. I may not be a Christian. I do believe in God. And it's weird because people are like, Tim Pool's an atheist. Like, I don't know where that ever came from because I haven't been an atheist since I was like 18. But I believe in God. I believe in profound mysteries of the universe, and I wouldn't call it New Age or anything like that. It's probably I would say my belief structure probably has some similarities to Christianity, but I just don't believe in the religion itself, the Bible. It's just not me. And I think in that we probably share some moral values, like don't bring kids to adult performances. Why? Children are trying to learn and understand, and we want them to be strong. We want them to be great. We want children to be better versions of ourselves, better than us. But what they're doing is they're corrupting children and making them worse versions of us and leading them down a path of corruption and unhappiness. I'm not here to advocate for some like moral, you must be married life. Seamus might be. A lot of conservatives would argue that premarital sex is wrong and things like that. Nah, I'm fairly liberal. I think fairly liberal. However, just because I'm more progressive or liberal on some issues does not mean I completely agree with, or I agree in any way with the idea of cutting ourselves from our roots. I think there has to be liberty, classical liberalism, but still strong morality. And that's the line. The line for me is, I may not agree with everything the traditionalists and the conservatives think, but I think there has to be some moral foundation. So I'll agree with them on that.
So that's the end of your clip. Now, Dustin Paulson puts up here, okay, so he's a buffetist. Take what you want and leave the rest, right? Cafeteria style Christianity.
Well, that was going to get me to my point. So he said that he grew up Catholic, but his family left the church. And I'm curious as to, why that was and why he never gravitated back towards it, What was it about that he didn't find believable? So those are questions that I would like.
Unfortunately,
to
he didn't set up to talk about that, but we do wonder.
But what is interesting is like the buffetist thing brings us to the point that even though he rejects Christianity, for I'm not sure why, but this idea that he wants to still have some sort of moral framework. Mm-hmm. And this classical liberalism idea, of freedom of speech and entertaining ideas and all that kind of stuff. But, Western civilization has been built on that kind of thing. But my question for Tim Pool and for other people is the Christianity is the worldview that pretty much defined Western civilization as it developed over time and its antagonists, right? In that whole great conversation. But if you want to have the morality of Christianity, we hear, that atheist that has the same name as Spider-Man.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. We hear him talk about...
when he was on with IP, on IP's channel, he IP opened up with a Tom Holland Spider-Man joke.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I can't believe you made that joke. I just can't believe it." He was really upset.
Yeah. But he's talked about this as well. And the question is, if the worldview of Christianity is what gave that to us. Mm-hmm. And it seems...
Dominion is the name of that book.
Yeah. It seems... I think. The question people need to ask, though, is for those who want to maintain that sort of foundation or whatever, or let's just say that kind of umbrella for culture or that kind of canopy. If you want to kick the pillars out, though, do you think that it could still stand? Because Christianity is the pillars upon which that
of course
sits on top of.
Of course I don't think that.
And so why would you think that you could maintain that classical liberalism, that kind of objective, understanding of objective morality and all of that? Why do you think that you could keep that if you don't have that which is upholding it?
Yeah, it's just like we see now. And I had some articles to go through, not today, but for another video that I just kind of ditched and decided not to use them. But I have these articles like, talking about people trying to incorporate religious stuff in religious ritual and stuff into secular lifestyles. And we've seen that sort of thing all the time, and create a worldview or create a ritual system devoid of God or something.
Yeah.
And the same sort of thing happens there. It's like, well, when you don't understand, you just cut the reason that Western civilization was able to do this, the reason that people have always felt like they were born again with Christianity, is because the thing that's at the heart of those rituals is something that is deeply meaningful and real to the people that take part in the ritual faithfully. They think there really is a God in a marriage, let's say, in a marriage ceremony. There really is a God that we're pledging this out loud to, and to each other in front of this, preacher or priest or whatever, clergy. And so that makes it very much rich with meaning and consequence and all of the metaphysics and everything else. Whereas if you're going to try to keep the ritual, but cut out all of that stuff that most people who have gotten married in the past have had as part of that, you've just cut out what you thought was maybe unnecessary baggage that you can put like Christianity on and get rid of it. But that is like the meaningful thing that makes the rest of it sing.
Yeah, it's if you want that to there's a reality behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're denying the reality behind it, and more people start denying the reality behind it, you can romanticize about, well, I don't believe in some of the religious aspects, that's the reality behind it. But I do like some of the trappings that it offered, and we're moving away from that, and these people are kind of lamenting it, even
But what do they like about, and why do they like about the ritual side of things?
Yeah,
I'm asking, but I think we would say, well, it's because human beings do, for whatever reason, because it was good for, like a skeptic might say, because it was good for the herd or whatever, or, whatever the case may be. We do kind of have it.
Yeah. Well, I understand why people would romanticize about it. So,
and it's a part of human experience, however you think it came to be. And so we do kind of get excited by ritual. We do. Many of us do. We find something, the feeling like when you just had it recently. Look at me. You went to a new church recently.
Yeah. And
you said about that experience that there was something about the ritual and the pomp and circumstance.
Well, I'll go ahead and say, I did visit an Eastern Orthodox church. My son was interested.
Well, you're going to hell.
Checking it. Yeah, of course. Well, for other things. But for not being a Calvinist, according to Teddy and Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
But, I really enjoyed it. It appealed to my sensitivities. Of course, I'm probably not going to ever become Eastern Orthodox or anything, but I really did enjoy the service, and I'm glad that we went and had that experience. But what's interesting to me about this kind of longing for this, well, not just ritual, but for the
meaning.
The meaning, the foundations that we all,
an ontological source.
Well, no, just the trappings of what we could say cultural Christianity, right? So on Twitter, there was this big stink between the Reformed Theobros and everyone else, and they're just dumping on cultural Christianity and how awful it was and how glad they're rid of it. But cultural Christianity kept a lot of people from breaking into your house and letting your kids play outside in the street during the daytime.
That's right.
So when people talk about how awful cultural Christianity was, no, it was actually, in a lot of ways, it was kind of a common grace kindness of God for us to have that. And I think poo-pooing it and saying it's how awful it is really short-sighted. So I understand why people want that sort of culture, that's kind of, whether you're among the faithful or not, predisposed to, it's more predisposed to Christianity. I think it's more friendly to Christianity as opposed to hostile, which is what our culture is now. But my point to people like Tim Pool and Tom Holland and others is, why do you think that you could even have that if you don't push the reality behind it, which is ultimately powered by the gospel itself of Jesus Christ, right? So without a gospel centeredness to all of this that we're talking about, that we like, that even people like Tim Pool would share with Christians like us, or even Seamus on his show or whoever, without the Christianity to back it up, you have no engine for this.
All I would think, if I was Tim Pool and I was convinced of this, well, maybe we should get more into that when we go to the next clip. But I don't know why, if I was Tim Pool, I wouldn't just do all the ritual and do all the meaning and do all there really is morality and there really is all these different things, because he's already got an ontological grounding for it if he wants one, because he says he believes in God. So he had been an atheist since he was 18. Now, you may not know which God, but you don't, like, if you think that you think the creator of the cosmos, the creator of all the cosmos, whether it's a multiverse or just our local representation of the universe, or whatever, however you want to say it. If you think there's a creator who made everything, you don't have to know which creator it is to explain morality that way, or meaning, or whatever else he wants to do. So why does he say what he says about? Well, has he said it yet? We haven't played the clip that I'm referring to yet, have we? So let's go on to that clip next.
Let's go on to the next clip.
Okay, here we go. Yep, it is this clip, and we played.
You know what? I view myself as a positive nihilist, and there's negative nihilist. Let me explain. So I can give you a very rudimentary understanding of nihilism. Basically, like, how would you describe it? Nothing matters.
Total meaninglessness.
Total meaninglessness.
Aww.
But hold on.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that. I take it to a positive place. Meaning is what you decide it is. Life has the value that you ascribe to it. So I had this phase when I was younger where I was like, what's the point of anything? Where does this all go? And then I thought to myself, if this doesn't go anywhere, then there's nothing holding me back from trying to do the best things I can in terms of what this world considers to be good, like positive and constructive.
Pritchett, would you be a dear and turn off the overhead light while I continue to play this video?
And then I meet a lot of left activists especially, who are negative nihilists. Nothing matters, so why don't we just burn it down for fun? You can think nothing matters. I have no problem with that. It's what do you do next? For me, it was like, if there is no inherent mattering to anything, that means we assign that value, we decide. And if I decide, I'm gonna decide on good things, making people feel better, giving them good long-term solutions, longevity, family, life, creation, exploration, those are all good things.
I'm with you on the positive nihilist thing, because I'm the same way, because I see a lot of meaninglessness in the world and finding meaning in my family and in my own religion that I'm working on. But like, I think what we can agree on is we see a hope in people, whereas the negative nihilists want to destroy people and themselves. And that's why the anti-human, anti-future comes in.
And I think the positive nihilists...
So that guy that just spoke, he's a Christian?
I don't know.
Okay.
As more rare as it might be, I'd imagine. Like, my view of the world is, I wouldn't call it absolute nihilism. I would say I do see a lot of things as being meaningless, but I do think there is meaning to us, why we are here, why humans exist. And so I would find myself more in agreement with a staunch conservative, like, a Christian or religious person who genuinely believes in larger purpose and something bigger than themselves. I'm like halfway there. That's why I say I believe in God, but I'm not like religiously theistic or anything. If you are someone who believes there's no meaning, but that if that's the case, we should be the best people we can be because we made the meaning. Like, if you don't think there's a God of morality and you think nothing matters, and then you decide from that, I want to make sure everybody lives the best they can because it's up to us to decide. I think that kind of person is going to be more aligned with people of faith and religion who are of a similar. Right. Not saying every religious person is a good person.
Right. Oh yeah, of course not.
But I'm saying the good people of faith and the good people of positive impact will work together with smiles on their faces.
So I kind of found this clip somewhat confusing because right there he seemed to almost contradict himself right in the middle, because it was probably absolute meaninglessness except for what we ascribe, but then he's kind of switched to there is some sort of larger purpose, and then he went back to but then we decide what.
And he says he uses all kinds of value terms all over the place. Best. If it's just us and we just get to decide, well, then we can make the best sort of whatever he said, whatever's best for people. What do you mean best? Well, and he might say progress toward what? Away from what? These are all value-based terms that imply strongly that there is some standard that you should be like trying to reach.
Right. I mean, this kind of deist idea of well, there's a creator God, but he just kind of left the universe to its cosmos to its own devices or whatever. That notion always struck me as odd. That if somebody's going to bother about creating, beings with capacity for reason and logic and communication,
relationship.
I don't see.
It sits better on theism
than deism, yeah, because deism never really made sense to me. That I'm gonna spin this off and either watch it to entertain myself and not mess with it, or I'm gonna have an intended purpose for it. And so I think the grasp for mattering and the grasp for meaning and to add value to it is entirely subjective if there is no reality behind that as well, which means that everything that he thinks is good about positive nihilism and someone else that he says he's okay with negative, well, in the end, those shake out to be equals. You just like your thing and they like their thing, and they may think that your thing is not good and their thing is good. And so then it becomes a matter of opinion.
Well, yeah, and the way, the thing about it, like I said to you right before we started the show, I said, Pritchett, because you were like, well, it's all vacuous if there's no God, there's no foundation for it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but Pritchett, look, what he's saying, like, at least we can understand what he's saying. Like, if he found out there was no God or whatever, or in his case, maybe there is, but I don't know that there's any ultimate, like, transcendent meaning or anything, then it would still be, like, he would still want certain things. He would still not want for you to stab him in the chest, right? Yeah. And we would understand why he would prevent you from stabbing him in the chest.
Sure, we would all,
And we could build out a morality from that, as the
survival.
Skeptics and atheists do. Yeah. And so I think that he's got something there. I think if I found out tomorrow that there was no God or whatever, it's backwards day, and I find out that there's no God or something, then after that, I don't think I'm just going to be like, well, I guess I should just die then or something, or I just should never leave the house. I might never leave the house, but I think I would
just go play video games.
For a good excuse not to leave the house. But no, the truth is, I think I would still carry on. I would find something else to do with my time. So I think it's a little bit reductionist when apologists act like that. Not that you did, but some apologists that do kind of the Mickey Mouse apologetics on stuff like that. But what I can say is, okay, but here is the terrain now. Because Tim would eventually, I think, fall into something like what some of the atheists say about this, the lack theist types. And what they'll say is, they'll say, well, look, it's like there is no objective morality or purpose, right, but it's like the chess game. And we've said this on the show a million times, but like you said, Tim says the same thing over and over because he doesn't know who's listening. So I'll say it now. And that is that if like the game of chess, there is an objectively better or worse way to play the game of chess. Yeah. But that's given, but that's not like written in the cosmos.
Right.
That's if you grant that we should play chess right now. And you grant the subjective goal of checkmating, which is a subjective framework, this particular piece that we call the king. Okay, now, once we agree on all that subjectivity, now there's an objectively better or worse way to play chess.
Yes. But here's
but hold on, because this is a picture. So if you do that with society and you say, okay, so like let's say Tim Pool said, all right, with society, what we're going to do is we're going to now structure it such that we now know what we call, there is an objectively better or worse way to reach the goal of not checkmating a king, but human flourishing or whatever. Right. And so that's the best thing. So we're gonna strive toward that. Now that was subjectively chosen, he could honestly say, but now there is an objectively better or worse way to reach human flourishing, one would imagine. And so you could do that. The problem is everyone who agrees with you and says, yeah, we want to play that game with you. We also want to play chess that way, play morality that way. Oh, great. Come on into our bubble. Now imagine a bubble, and inside that are all the people in society that like that way of doing things. And it might be most of them because there is overlap there with other moral systems. But if you have someone over here in a different moral system that thinks human sacrifice is okay, or like some cultures in history have, or whatever, then now what you're saying, now over there, what you're doing is immoral by their code, and you've got your code. But you can't say they're being immoral. You can just say if they were in our bubble, we would call that immoral.
Right. And
they can say the same thing back. And then you've got David Wood floating around here before he's a Christian, not in anybody else's bubble. He is in somebody's bubble, the bubble with all the people in there that don't understand morality or don't sense it the way we do or whatever. Right. So you've got all of that, but none of that gives you up over all the orbs way up in
Yeah.
the sky, an ultimate morality. You don't have that. And so even though you can call it objective and it gets you something, and I agree that it can be a place to start to move society towards something good, if it has cut out the ultimate, if there is an ultimate, then it's ultimately going to spin out of control and it's not going to work.
And it's the Christians that are shilling for the ultimate. It's people like us that are shilling for this ultimate thing. But why would you? But you know, two questions that I have on this though, and one thing that that's the Dillahunty morality example, right? Two questions I have for that whole thing though. You know, number one, for a theist, you still haven't answered the why question. Why would on theism that still be more likely the case than an objective morality and telos to the cosmos?
Why would what? That we have this morality?
Why would the cosmos be set up for a people to decide their own meaning and their own morality given theism? If you're a theist, why think that's more likely than
there's moral things, and it's
an objective morality and a telos and an intended purpose. So for a theist, that's what I want to ask. And then, like you said, the second thing is, the whole so what issue, because you don't have that overreach. Why is it that, Tim Pool calls people evil all the time on his program? He says, those people are evil, right?
Yeah.
All the time. And that has no weight to it if those people aren't playing your chess game. But why is it when people have abandoned the traditional worldview, the traditional Christianity, that he says, I side more with them, right? Because he talked about in the first part of that clip, people who are agnostic, people who are Christian, people who are spiritual, more so than atheists, are always looking for some sort of greater thing, right? Some sort of spiritual quest. Why is it, though, that you have that, but you don't think Christianity can make more sense of that than whatever worldview you think you've come up with based on?
It may be that what he would say, Tim, we'd love for you to come on the show or have us on your show so we could just talk this out. You know? But he would probably say something like, because what he said, the only thing we got on why he's not a Christian is that's not me.
Right.
The Bible, Jesus, that's not me, or whatever he said. And it may be that he would say, well, yeah, I mean, if I thought Christianity was true, that would really, that system would set all this up for me. I just don't think that the religion of Christianity and the historical claim that Jesus rose from the dead really happened. So I don't have access to what you're telling me.
Yeah, but without Christianity, is it no wonder that the culture that he's railing against, that he wants to side more with the tradition, not on all the religious trappings, but general morality and things like that. When the people you're opposing have abandoned that, why do you think there's a tendency to the chaos that he's railing against without Christianity, right? So picture Tim Pool in the middle, right? And I'm not just talking about like political, I'm talking about just like worldview. In the middle, you have Christians, or maybe we could even toss in Muslims or Jews or whatever, strict religious monotheists. Then you have the Tim Pool theist/deist, right? Who's deciding whether or not there is a meaning or purpose, or I want to do good, and if no one agrees with me, who cares? But why is it that people here or on the other side, the people that he's opposing, why is it that they tend towards chaos that he rejects instead of towards Christianity? And the problem that he needs to come to grips with, and he reminds me of like the liberal that I went to high school with, which is weird because he's millennial, he's even younger than you, but he reminds me of a Gen X liberal. Sadly, too many of them have gone wacko leftist, but like how they used to be. And so the tendency is to tend towards chaos without some sort of foundation. And when you have theism minus, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, we'll say, just to be fair, it's always going to tend towards chaos. And if you don't like that chaos, you need to figure out why it is that, what is that work in the cosmos that tends away from a strictly monotheistic religion, and then Christianity, the superior one in our view, because of the evidence, the apologetic stuff. But it's going to tend towards that. Why is there forces at work that are opposed to the things that you'd like to side with if you could just get over your religious hangups? And I think that the answer to that question is because Christianity is true, and that there are forces at work to move.
And the fact that it has that you say we should hold on to some things from the past and all that sort of thing, and you pretty well agree with Christian ideas, but just not Christianity and all those things. Well, maybe the fact that Christianity has resulted in this, maybe some of these things that you're feeling and seeing and thinking right now actually should be a part of an argument for the truth of Christianity as a worldview. I want to read here, Honestly Atheist says, I actually don't think everyone needs to agree for us to have coherent moral semantics. There are just people who disagree with the standard semantics, like people who think tacos are sandwiches. Well, when it comes to like reality versus semantics, like here's a great example. If you say that's a trans woman, okay? And what you mean by that is that's a biological male that is identifying as a woman, okay? There may be a semantic game going on there, okay? That like we may actually agree on some ontological realities here, but you're using different terms. But if you want to say that a biological man can become a biological woman, that is no longer an issue of semantics. This is now an issue of ontology. And so, and this issue that we're talking about right now, about trans women, for example, is a great example of one where you're going to have people who, well, maybe not, because Tim Pool's not a Christian and he would side with us, I think, on most of the thoughts about this. So, but I would think that this is a place where if you're not a Christian, or you're not religious, let's say anyway, then you're going to have a higher likelihood, I think, of going off in one direction than the other, even though I don't think that religion or Christianity is necessary to argue against that.
Yeah, I mean, but you could have coherent moral semantics, but when it gets to the ontology, you can't convince anyone unless they want to participate in your game. If it's only semantics and there's no reality behind it, and if we're talking about there is no ultimate objective morality, right and wrong, then to me it's well, we're just going to try to do our best to muddle through according to our personal preferences, and then after 70 or 80 years, if we manage to tarry that long, it's over.
Is it true, Pritchett, that nobody says, as the commenter S says, nobody says that biological men can become biological women?
Nobody says bio men can become bio women. I don't know of anybody who does, but what you did was you gave.
I just gave an example. Yeah.
It was,
but
it was
actually,
an example for semantics versus ontology. We weren't saying that people are running around claiming that. What we were saying is you can semantically have something in common, but if someone were to claim that was we're not saying people say that. We're saying if they were to say that.
But I have heard people say that.
Oh, you have?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That biological males
can become biological women. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, good grief.
You need to read, and there's a great book, actually. I don't want to go off on this subject too much, but there's a great book called Trans by a woman named Helen Joyce. And then there's another one, Irreversible, that gives some great stuff on all this. But anyway.
I noticed that they had started saying, gender and sex are two different things, and now they've ditched that distinction. Now
trans women are women,
and no, trans women are female now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Trans women are women.
Yeah, but they're going ahead and using the word female. They're blurring. But now they're saying biological males can become biological. Okay, so science no longer Science didn't matter at the women female, but now it really doesn't matter if you're saying a biological male can become a biological. That's
right. And if you're that kind of if you say that, if you think a biological male can become a biological female, well, whether you think that or not, if that's what you say, then if you're the same kind of person that would give young Earth creationists a hard time because of the science behind that,
right?
I got problems with that.
Yeah, that's flat Earth territory, right?
Yeah. Okay, next clip.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Whoops, I'm in the wrong place.
Yes, you are. Uh-oh.
Wait.
But anyway, look, because God exists, we believe that there is an objective moral. And I know everyone's out there poo-pooing the moral argument. I'm sorry, the moral argument is awesome. Anyway, we do believe that there is an objective moral standard because it is grounded in God's nature. And given that, it makes sense that the things that people like Tim Pool are detecting epistemologically about right and wrong. And he wants to, because I think when Tim Pool calls people evil, he's not saying, I am of the opinion that these people are against my ideas of morality. That's not what he's saying. He is saying he means it. You see what I'm saying? So even if you think that there is no meaning or ultimate objective morality, you really do when you want to communicate something other than, I think this offends my sensibilities about morals. No, that's not what you're communicating. When you're saying that you think someone is evil, and the way he screams it at the camera, he is intending to convey that he thinks that there is a standard of good and a standard of evil that applies to everyone, and these people are evil. That's what I believe that he thinks, regardless of what he says about, meaning and purpose and morality and all of that. And the reason for it is because God exists.
But there's a problem that goes even deeper, which is that
Amen.
For decades, we have lived in a society with people who we don't have the same definition of what man is right? So are human beings made in God's image and likeness, or are we just these self-replicating coils of
By man, you
DNA?
mean human.
Yes. Are we just these sort of genetic automatons, and just consciousness is the wet stuff in your head, this meat substance giving rise to information processing, or do we have intrinsic value? I think that's a much more substantial distinction, and it's totally been lost.
And I think the issue here, we talked about this, you're projecting.
Yes, how am I projecting?
You're projecting. When someone tells you they don't have a soul, why would you assume they're wrong?
They don't. Because I believe all humans have a soul.
Well, right, you're projecting because you do, and you believe it. Certainly someone else must.
But
I was talking to somebody who was an atheist, and they told me they don't believe in the soul, they don't believe in the spirit, they don't believe in God or religion. And I said, so do you think you're, like, then what are you? What robot? And I'm like, I believe you.
Yeah.
I personally feel the soul within me. I have this experience. I have this inner monologue. Some people don't have that. Do you know that?
Yeah,
So
well,
people
that's sad to me because I mean, for me, I just say, look, I see the value in recognizing a creator and that we all have origin in that creator and we all have a soul. So I see value in that. I think that society would see a value in that, but I mean, you can't make people to believe.
Yeah, well, and the point I would make is, yes, you are right. There are many people who say they don't have a soul, who say they don't have free will. I don't believe that makes it so. I think by definition, if a person does have a soul and they do have free will, then that would allow for the possibility of them to deny that they have a soul and free will.
But what if they don't have free will?
I believe that they do.
What if they're-
And I understand that this is an argument. Yeah,
That's you projecting a belief onto
it's
another
a belief about mankind, but it's also properly basic. Everyone operates as if they have free will. Some deny its existence, but no one acts as if they don't believe.
But
free
him
will
projecting his
exists.
belief doesn't mean that he's wrong.
Yeah.
No, I know.
It just means that someone else could be
I
wrong.
didn't say you're wrong. I'm saying, but you are projecting your belief onto other people.
But I think
And
you have to-
my point was simply the question of what if they're
What
right?
if they're right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that you have to be humble enough to realize I could be wrong.
No, for sure. But I think if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong about the fact that I have free will. And so, like, if they're right, then we're all genetic automatons. There's not some special exception for me because of what I believe.
No. If within yourself you feel your existence and you feel your presence in your soul, someone else could not have one. It doesn't mean you don't. You could have a soul and they might not. Some people might be NPCs.
Wait. Is he saying that's what he thinks?
Yes.
That he thinks some people have souls and some people are NPCs?
Right. That's where him and the Seamus were I think talking a little bit past each other.
Yeah.
Because he was like, well, he said, you're projecting your beliefs onto them. And Seamus was like, I mean, yeah, in the sense that either I'm right and we all have souls, or they're right and I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
Seamus is making sense here.
Mm-hmm.
Tim is saying, well, I think I have a soul, but I believe people when they tell me that they don't. Like, he believes that the way human beings operate in existence is some of us are ensouled people and others could just be NPCs.
Okay, could. That's a counterfactual.
Yeah.
But is he saying, I think that?
Yeah, he said, I believe you when people tell him that they don't have a soul. He thinks it's possible. He thinks
wow, this is interesting.
Yes, he thinks
Okay.
he thinks it's possible that some human beings have souls and others do not. And I think he was attributing to that to like the introspective, the more introspective versus less introspective, the people that have the running monologue in their head and those who don't. That has no bearing on whether a person is ensouled who has a more active monologue internally, and those who seemingly don't have it at all or aren't very introspective at all.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that in a lot of collectivist cultures, introspection was not a big thing, in these running, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a soul, because we're talking about ontology, not whether or not you sit there and you have your brain talking to yourself the whole day, right? Those are two different issues, right? Because you wouldn't ask these atheists, do you have conscious experience? Because they're going to tell you yes, even if they don't feel like they have a soul, right? So I think Seamus is right to point out that I'm either right and we're all made the same, which means we're all dualists, or they're right and I'm wrong and none of us have souls, you know. And but
this is interesting.
yes, but my question for Tim Pool.
Why does he think this?
That's my question for Tim Pool.
Why do you think this?
Why
are you
why
saying
do you think this?
the things you say?
Yeah, but more importantly, if you think that you have a soul, right? What best explains that? Does that go back to his generic deism or theism? And if it's deistic kind of version of theism, where it's a God who just creates the universe and says, have fun, and then, you know, whether he observes or not, Tim Pool thinks we make our own purpose and I want to do what's good, even though I think it really is good and that really is evil, even though I don't. You know, he's kind of confused there.
If there is a creator, Pritchett.
But if he gives you a soul, right? Because you could have a creator God who creates us no different than the animals, right? Where we're not ensouled. You could even create us where we have reason and logic and all of that, the way that we evolved, but without souls, right? We could all just be monists in that sense, right? Just physical, purely physical.
But would he say still have the same conscious experience?
Well, I don't know what he would say, but I'm saying if you think that
you're speaking on behalf of Tim Pool here today.
No, but I'm asking questions. If you think, why think that anyone has a soul?
Well, Huntsman says he doesn't think Tim is coming at it from a spiritual perspective. He thinks it's more like he doesn't see evidence of an actual person in a NPC. Maybe, well, see, this is kind of like is he really talking about souls here, or is he just saying, using soul as a moral person or something? And because if someone says, I don't have a soul, I look at them and I say, yeah, you do.
Right. That's the Seamus answer. That's what Seamus was saying.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
But why would Tim believe the guy that he doesn't have a soul? Why would he think that guy is knowledgeable enough about his own ontology to know if he has a soul? If he's saying that he doesn't.
Well, that's a interesting question. More interesting is why think that you have one and someone else doesn't?
Oh, I've got all kinds of reasons to think I have one.
Yeah, I know, but why would Tim Pool think that he has a soul at all?
That really is the main question here, because as interesting as it is that he thinks there's non-player characters running around, maybe at the table with him for all we know.
Right.
The fact is, he does...
Or he could be a solipsist.
He doesn't believe in Christianity, but he does, or any other particular religion as far as I know, but he does believe in God and he does believe in souls. For some people. But is that his view? He does believe some people do have souls.
Yes, because he believes he has one. And my question is, why would you have a soul? Because God can create a cosmos filled with rational creatures like human beings without a soul. But it seems like a soul. Let's do this grab bag apologetics here, right? If you believe that you have a soul, why would you have one? Why would you think that it connects to a non-physical reality? And why think that objective morality and objective purpose and meaning to existence isn't part of that non-physical reality that comes from... Because obviously, if you believe in God, you can get an ensouled person, a non-physical part of your personhood, right? But why believe just that aspect of the non-material world, but not the things like objective morality? Or even if you believe in that, or you want to believe in that, why not objective purpose and objective meaning?
Because you have as much evidence for that morality or meaning or whatever as you do for your soul. I mean, what is he relying on to know that he has a soul, I wonder? Because whatever it is can't be nearly as accessible as, wow, it's really wrong to
torture babies.
Yeah. And I have evidence of that through its morality, right? The only way we could possibly learn about morality, I mean, now you can learn about statistical what people do, but in terms of observing it directly, the only way you can do it is introspection. Look at yourself, look internally, and and learn. And if you think you can look internally and find a soul, you definitely should think you can look internally and find objective morality, I think.
Well,
at least if you think you can find a soul.
Well, I think he's confused on the issue of objective morality and not. And I think he's more confused on the positive nihilism, because it goes back to, if you believe that you have an immaterial part of your personhood, why would you not think that that's connecting you to a larger purpose, a larger telos, a larger meaning, and a larger, and an objective morality? Because because you could have God and wet robots. You can't have God and us not have souls. But if you're going to believe that at least you have a soul, and if you're not a solipsist, right, that if Tim goes, we all go, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're not that,
and you think at least you have a soul,
right?
Then what? That makes better sense on Christianity.
Well, not only does it make better sense on Christianity, but you need to think about the implications that you having a soul means you have a non-physical reality to you, and does that not have? Why would you have that if there is no purpose beyond your soul? Because a soul is, in Christian thought anyway, the soul implies you're connected to non-physical reality and other things that are meaning, purpose, the design, to worship God, to know God, to be relational to God, to, all of that, the objective morality, the non-physical entities in addition to your own soul, angels and demons, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. So I think he needs to think through the implications of his own beliefs and then agree with Seamus that either all human beings have souls or none of us do.
Well, Honestly Atheist is back again saying maybe all the self-reported non-resistant non-believers in the world are actually unsouled automatons. It actually does provide a feasible theodicy against divine hiddenness. It might, if I had any first of all, I like that you're playing with the theology here, Honestly Atheist. We love it when atheists take it seriously and work with it that way. So thank you for that. But if I had any reason to believe this was true, that some people don't have souls, you might say, well, you don't have any evidence that people do have souls, and that would be a whole other conversation. But what I'm saying is, from within my worldview perspective, and even looking at any evidence anyone wants to share with me, I have no reason to believe this, that some people right now have souls and other people don't. I don't know why I should believe that.
But we've read a dissertation where someone believes that you are the only ensouled person.
Someone argued that you are the only player character.
Yeah.
They didn't get into souls, but they're like, the others are non-player characters. Like
in your universe,
in your world.
He was affirming a multiverse.
It was a Calvinist universalism. Yeah. It was a Calvinist universalism. I'm only going to talk about this because it's so weird.
Yeah.
But this person was like, this student was like, what if, and he argued this whole thing out. What if you had a universe for every individual person who will ever live or has ever lived? And in their universe, they're the only player character. So when the others reject and ostensibly are condemned without Christ, that's okay, because in some universe, the real player character for that person is, and they will be saved.
Yes. And to do that for all 110, 120 billion people who've ever existed.
Yeah. But you don't have to act like, oh, that's so big, because, well, we're talking about God here.
Yeah.
But what you can ask is,
that's kind of like,
is there any reason I should believe all of that?
Right. The answer is not really.
Not really?
Not really, because you and I could right now, whoever's watching this could be their universe, and you and I are just the NPCs in it. But I don't feel like an NPC.
Yeah.
But why would an NPC?
No, I'm the player character. I know I'm the player character.
No, someone who's watching both of us could be the player character in this.
No, I'm the player character. I'm self-aware.
Well, I'm self-aware too. But
no, you're not.
But
you say you are, but that's what you would say.
Of course, and that's of course an NPC would say that, because
yeah, you would say that. Okay, Honestly Atheist shook my hand. Okay. GMW says Hunter Braxton. That's not my handle, by the way, I don't think. And my name is Braxton Hunter, but I love that you got creative. Have you been to Walmart lately? I think that's because he's thinking there's a lot of NPCs at Walmart.
Yes.
That's all I can make out of that.
Yes. As much as I want to say a lot of these zombies on Twitter are NPCs, and I'm not just talking about the bots, I'm talking about people that have substantial followings that just spout off talking points or whatever they're shilling for. I do believe that they're still made in the image of God and have souls, because unlike Nick Quint and Chris Date, we're not physicalists.
Yeah, I don't know. This person said in the dissertation, this person think that these non-player characters in the world of the player character are genuine people or merely illusory. That wasn't clear to us. You sat in with me and we talked to this guy, and I can't remember exactly how he answered that. My take was not really.
But the whole thing serves as a defeater for the problem of evil is what it is.
Yeah, the idea is if this is even remotely possibly true, then the
it
problem
serves
of
a
evil
defeater
gets
for
defeated.
hell. It serves a defeater
I told
for the
him
problem of
he
evil.
only added the NPCs in because I told him, you have not only not answered the problem of evil, you have extrapolated the problem of evil times every person who's ever lived.
Right. Infinitely, or almost infinitely.
Yeah.
In every possible world, you've just damned billions of more people. But I think there was the NPC versions are annihilated, right? So he kind of shielded for that too. So hell was empty.
Is there more video I'm supposed to pull up?
Yes. Let's go next to anyway. Souls, why do you have one, and what is it connecting you to?
I don't consider myself Christian. I say this all the time. I believe in God. I don't really follow any scripture of any religious institution. But I gotta say, over the past few years, the more I've seen, the more it certainly felt like angels and demons. The more it feels like a nefarious, malevolent presence seeking to subvert something more divine in this world.
What?
Right. So there you have objective morality.
Yeah.
If you're calling something.
Yeah, it's malevolent.
Yeah.
There's a malevolent. What did he say? Let's
angels
hear it again.
and there's demons.
Of any religious institution. But I gotta say, over the past few years, the more I've seen, the more it's.
I keep hearing him say, I got saved over the past few years, but that's not what he said. I got to say over the past few years.
The more it certainly felt like angels and demons. The more it feels like a nefarious, malevolent presence seeking to subvert something more divine in this world.
Something more divine. But see, he's not saying that is what it is. He's saying that's what it feels like.
Yeah,
right?
there's a reason
and
why.
I'm saying,
there's a reason why it feels like that.
Come on in, bro. The water's fine.
That's right.
You're saying all this Christian stuff, man.
Yes. There is a reason why it seems that way, because it is that way.
Yes, there's lots of demonic nonsense happening right now.
Yes. Angels and demons, buddy. What worldview accounts for angels and demonic activity better than all the others?
You've got
Christianity.
That's right. And you've got a very smart guy here.
Yes, other religions have angels and demons, but what religion best accounts for it? Christianity does.
Yeah. No, now we have evil, so we have to have good. What is good?
Right.
But God. but look, here's Tim, a smart guy. Tim, I'm going to presume you're watching this. You may have missed last week, but I'm presuming you're watching this week. And I want you to know that, listen, man, you are saying so many things that fit hand in glove with the Christian message. Now, not everything you're saying is this business about, sleeping around outside of marriage. We got to work on that, pal.
Yeah.
But
come on, Seamus.
Yeah. The Christians at your table are they probably have conversations off the air about all this stuff, don't you think?
Probably.
I mean, everybody else does. So I just want you to know, Tim, I think you're close. I think you need to watch my dad's YouTube channel, listen to a solid message on repentance, and not because you're a horrible person from a human perspective, but because we're all sinners.
Yeah.
And you need to, at the end, if he leads in a prayer of salvation or something, it can't be just some words you say like magic, but man, you need to seriously consider Jesus died for the sin of the world. He died for you, Tim. Guess what? I'll say something that not every Christian will say. He died for you. He died for everyone at your table. He died for me and Pritchett and everyone watching this podcast and everyone in the whole world. Amen, Pritchett?
Amen.
And that means that you can know him and you can be my brother in a way that's greater than brotherhood of man type stuff. You can be my brother in Christ, and I want that for you, and I want it for you too, honestly, atheist and the commenter S and everyone else here that Kevin didn't show up this week, but whatever. But listen, You are saying so many Christian things. How does a man say? Because it really is true. You can look at some of what's going on right now. It is so demonic. It's obviously demonic.
Yeah.
And you're saying, and you're looking at it and going, man, it looks like angels and demons to me. Yeah.
Because it is.
It's angels and demons, man. Man, that tree sure looks designed. Look at the trees.
Well, he believes in God. But
Yeah.
but it doesn't stop there, right? It's if you're relational, you believe that you have a soul, I think he wants to affirm objective morality, even if he's wishy-washy on objective purpose, right? But you have a soul. If you believe that you have a soul, and we believe he has a soul, what is that connecting you to and why? Right? He needs to explore those questions. But
You're right. There's another reality deeper than that. The Unashamed of Jesus says, why is Tim presumed as smart? Well, I think sometimes, I don't know that you do this, Unashamed of Jesus, but I believe there are incredibly smart people of almost every worldview, and that's because I'm talking here not about wisdom necessarily. I'm talking about they're smart. They're like their IQ. Like this
they
is a
figured
smart
out
guy.
how to make a ton of money talking about politics.
Yeah, I mean, now, like, Pritchett doesn't use this term the way I do. Like, he'll sometimes be like, well, I'm dumb sometimes. No, you're not dumb sometimes. On some topics, you're ignorant.
Foolish sometimes.
Yeah, or you're foolish, right.
I'm foolish sometimes, or I'm ignorant of certain issues. But
there's Kevin. Kevin didn't. Yeah. He's just been quiet today.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't know. I like Tim Pool because I like his grit. You know, just a guy with a camera who's now built himself a tiny little media empire, or a little tiny empire, but still. He's got chickens, by the way. That's really why I like
He has a channel, doesn't he? That's just his chicken.
Just streams chicken.
And you give money, they'll fire
food in there. But I don't have, because I have my own chickens, and I had chickens before I discovered Tim Pool. Because, but that's why my wife likes to watch Tim Pool, is whenever he talks about the chickens, because she, we like chickens. So that I feel like he's one of us homesteaders, except he probably has a lot better setup than we do.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have one more clip to get to.
Let's do it. I think I have to do what I did before and pull it from something went wrong. Apple keeps taking my video clips and putting them up in the cloud. If anybody knows how to stop that, could you not here, but somewhere or yeah, you could hear. Just explain to me, is there a button or something that I'm missing? But I can get it back. It's not that big of a deal. And I have Pritchett here keep you paying attention for a minute.
That's right. Get that in there, and let's go with the final clip. Final questions for Tim Pool.
Well, this is pulling up.
It's not doing anything? There we go.
Talking about it earlier, man. There's no purpose. People have no goal. They have no plan. They don't know what they're alive for. Washington Post. But
wait a second. Is this not the right one?
Yeah, it should be. Okay.
I wanted to say something real quick from a minute ago. Who gets to, when we create an invention, what is the purpose of that invention? You're like, well, which invention? Any of them. What is true about the purpose? I'll tell you that the person who invented it
has a reason for it.
Has a reason he invented it.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose.
That's right.
When someone created a shovel, that shovel was meant to dig dirt or whatever else you can use a shovel for that is a proper use of the shovel, right? Same with anything else. Now, it may be different with people if you don't think there's a God, because then you're stuck doing the existential atheist Sardian thing that we're kind of hearing here, that, well, I just decide for myself what my meaning is, and I like to, do math, so I'm going to be a mathematician, and that's my purpose in life. Well, okay, that's all well and good, but Tim thinks that there's a creator. Mm-hmm. And if Tim thinks that there is a creator, then it just is the fact that if the creator intended Tim to exist, or mankind to exist,
and gave him a soul,
he has a purpose for, unless you don't think God is as smart a creator as the guy who made the shovel was.
Right.
Like he created with a reason, with a purpose. And whatever that is, that's your purpose, Tim. Right?
I agree. And there's I could see deism and no purpose and a creator coexisting if we weren't soulish creatures. Mm-hmm. We were just physical. But
I'd still think I had a purpose if there's a creator. Unless he didn't intend me. Unless he didn't intend for evolution. If evolution brought man to, and that was all he didn't have anything in that. He just didn't see that coming or something. Open theism is true for this deistic situation. Okay, fine. But I don't think that that's how it works. I don't think even if just bare theism is true. That's how it works.
And why have angels and demons
Huh?
doing stuff if there wasn't like a ultimate? See, angels and demons doing things, fighting cosmic battles for good and evil makes sense if there is a ultimate goal and there are people trying to prevent humans from achieving it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense on Christian theism. Anyway, let's play this
Stop
last
it, Brando.
clip.
Well, real quick, let's see real quick.
Oh, Tim the Ancient.
I'm kind of sick of these right-adjacent podcasters trying to have their theistic cake and eat it too. The existence of God implies things.
Amen.
Exclamation point. Now go and do the work. Just don't tease your audience. Or invite Dr. Pritchett on, and he'll explain it to you. But if you invite him on, invite me on too. Oh,
Right.
by the way, I was going to tell you, there is a very popular podcast that confirmed to me today that they not only want me to come on, they want both of us to come on. Don't say the name of it because it's not locked in yet, but pretty big. We're looking forward to it.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. So back to the video.
Yeah.
Article saying
Go
that
ahead,
like
back
young
that-
people
back
are
that
suffering
up.
from
So we get some.
about it earlier, man. There's no purpose. People have no goal. They have no plan. They don't know what they're alive for. Washington Post put up this article saying that like young people are suffering from extreme levels of depression, like not seen before, because they got nothing to live for.
They're wayward.
Look, back in the day, people had religion, faith, God, right? Today, a lot of people still do. But 20, 30 years ago, people had their community, they had their classes, they had their state championships or whatever. They'd go and they watch the community and cheer them on. There was something they focused on. There was something they were working for. Today, they have nothing.
Yeah.
So what do they do? They go on Instagram and they say, "What will get me social satisfaction? I need more likes. What gets me more likes? Garbage,
Bazongas.
generic, bazongas, garbage, generic content.
Booty shaking.
And then what happens when you don't get the likes anymore? Like people's psyches are just shattered.
Think about this, right? You can go to the poorest country in Africa. Take your pick. And I bet you the United States of America has a higher rate of depression.
Agreed. Yeah. I would also say, you said people need Jesus.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it. I would simply put it this way: people with Jesus are doing better than people without.
Facts.
This is not me making a religious statement. What I'm saying is the people who have no faith and no plan have higher rates of mental illness, have higher rates of depression, and the people who have religion have something anchoring them. About it earlier, man. There's no.
I'm smiling at this not because I think that that I'm happy that people are experiencing mental illness at higher rates or whatever. That's not the point. But it's just that again, he's like, I'm not going to say people need Jesus. I'm just going to say that if they don't have Jesus, all this other stuff happens more with that demographic.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds kind of like you're saying
That's
people
not to
need
say
Jesus.
that people who are Christians don't have depression and
Is that
anxiety.
right? That's right.
But in general, yeah, that's the tendency. He says, when he was talking to, I think that's a Christian rapper that he's talking to.
Really?
And earlier in that show, I didn't want to clip it out because I like more of our talks and less of the clips playing. So, no, I'm just kidding. But he had said people need Jesus, but that's
This guy, this is a Christian rapper.
yeah. And he was referencing something he had said earlier when he said, you said people need Jesus. He said, that's one way to put it. I'll just say that the people with Jesus are doing better than without. And my I guess the final questions for Tim Pool would be, why do you think that is? And who do you think Jesus is that makes that kind of thing possible?
Yeah, why isn't that suspicious? It's like in each of these clips, Pritchett, and I'm assuming these didn't all happen on the same night, but in each of these clips, he's giving us another reason why one might suspect Christianity is true.
Yeah.
As well.
Right.
But
the ultimate question is, who do you think Jesus is? Because that ultimately,
if you're wrong about Jesus, you're wrong. From a Christian perspective, if you're wrong about Jesus, it doesn't matter what you're right about.
Right.
And that brings us to this thing right here from Kevin. He says, I suspect that some of the conservative podcasters are grifting onto the religious movement, not nearly as devout as they let on. Crowder comes to mind, probably others too, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think there. We did a show on that, and that's very possible. But Tim Pool, I don't think fits because number one, he's not a Christian, and number two, he's probably center libertarian. Not really, he reminds me of a liberal from the '90s.
Here's what I think, Kevin.
So I don't know that
I think he would not say. I think he would intentionally not say things that he knows will absolutely tick off some like most Christians.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you would find him saying the resurrection of Jesus is just garbage, bunk, blah blah. I don't think he'd do that kind of thing. I think he would not say certain things that he might think, so as not to upset a lot of his audience that he doesn't need to upset. But I do think that if he does,
this kind of stuff
hold
is
on,
not the main point of his
but hold
show.
on,
Yeah.
if he does say something, I believe he's saying it because he thinks it's right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just lying.
Right.
Right.
Because he doesn't have to talk about any of this at all.
Right.
But he does.
Yeah.
I mean, and this isn't the main purpose of his show anyway, to argue religion. But I just here I'll say this.
They're talking
Kevin.
about Carlson too.
I prefer.
Never seen Tucker Carlson.
I prefer a generic theist who weaves this into larger worldview discussions into news and politics than a grifting Christian right-wing commentator who's got a potty mouth. I'll say that much. I'll take a Tim Pool over the Christian adjacent potty mouths type right-wing commentators.
Well, I agree with Brando. I hope Brando's right. Tim's purpose is to create a secular podcast, become Christian after it is massive, and bring a bunch of people to Christ.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's in the cards. But
here's Derek saying, you agreed with him. There's a lot of evil going on in the world that is frankly demonic. For your audience and anyone who might watch this, who may be looking out in the world without despair and fear, what is the solution? What is the solution to the evil? Well, Pritchett, you can handle that, but what I would say is the solution is the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, that sounds like what you would expect me to say, but let me tell you something. What Tim is finding out more and more seems to be true. It seems that you can map spiritual warfare, I think, onto our nation pretty well with what's going on. I do think that there's a culture war, and that culture war, I think, often treads over these things. The truth is that if there is a God, as Tim believes that there is, and he created the universe, then he's very, and if we're right that Christianity is true, we're very much interested in, we think God is very much interested in what is going on in the nations. If you think there's a God at all who's interested in creating human beings and to be relational with each other, then I think you would find that it's very plausible that on theism you would have a God who's very concerned about his children, quote unquote, and I don't have to put the quotes for me. And I think that he would look, I think that if all of that even might be true, we have a serious problem, because there is no one on earth right now, and nobody running for president in the United States, let's say for sure, who's got the solutions to the problems. You've got America almost split down the middle over serious issues. It's not like it was in decades past, of the past, let's say, 30 years. It's not
what's going to be the tax rate, the corporate interest
right, yeah.
tax rate?
Stuff that we think of as more political.
Right, yeah.
Now, you go far enough back and you have civil rights type stuff and all that kind of stuff and that's of course been there all along. And that is very important too. Those are big deal issues. But with the things we've got right now, with abortion and gender ideology on the table, what's happening is you've got people on both sides who won't budge unless they have a paradigm shift. And I know someone who can bring paradigm shifts. The Lord Jesus Christ can reach into a man's heart and turn it from a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. He can reach into a family that has been destroyed and broken and hurt because of bad ideas and sinful decisions, and he can heal. He can bring good out of evil and beauty out of pain and darkness. And so right now, Jesus is the solution, because he is the God of the universe who became a man to take our place, to die on an old rugged cross for all of our sins, so that if you would accept that salvation, repent of your sin, turn from the way you're living without Jesus to a life with Jesus, then that healing can begin and that salvation will come. And right now, people talk about a lot of times like, communism and that sort of thing being, so bad and all that. Here's the thing. If we had a perfect leader who was a king, and we could just look to the king and do what he says, it would be a different story. The problem is there's never been a perfect king except the Lord Jesus Christ. And I want him for my king. I don't want Joe Biden, nor Donald Trump, nor DeSantis, nor what's the lady's name?
Haley,
Kelly Haley, something like that.
Nikki Haley.
Is she in South Carolina?
I have no idea.
Arizona? I don't know. The bottom line is you need Jesus, whether you realize you do or not. And even Tim, even though he says, I'm not saying you need Jesus, I'm just saying you need Jesus. It's basically what he came out saying.
Right. And there's a reason for that, because Jesus saves. And that guy on the screen that you've left up there, he knows it. I wish I could.
He knows. I wish I knew what his shirt said. Make America what again? Something AIGHT.
Oh, I think it said Make America Straight Again.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't have. drawn so much attention to that. But I will tell you this.
You don't agree with it?
No, I actually, of course I agree with it. I don't like how people tend to take that sort of, it's like when what Michael Knowles said the other day, and everyone said, oh, well, that sounds like he's calling for some kind of a genocide or something. You know, that's where you get, but yeah, I do think that, human sexuality is best understood biblically speaking.
Well, make America straight again and using the word eradicate are two different
I mean,
things.
that buys, yeah, that's
a little bit different there.
But what did he say? Did he say eradicate those people, or did he say eradicate an ideology?
He said ideology, but I mean, he can carry his own water. We're not here to defend Michael Knowles. We're here to ask Tim Pool questions about his worldview and show him that there is a consistency. This all leads somewhere. Everything that you want to affirm has its yes and amen in Jesus and Jesus alone. And the chaos that he is railing against every night on his program and all in his news updates, that is demonic. And there's a reason for that, and there's a whole worldview that goes with that. And Seamus knows, and this guy knows, and several of your guests know. So I do hope that Tim does see this and considers exploring these questions and trying to really come to grips with what he publicly says he thinks. Why does he think those things, and where do those things go, and where do they dead end? And maybe have more conversations about those things.
And we are gonna, I was gonna say, we'll put out another short or something that is just 5 questions for Tim Pool,
right? And
see if he answers, because honestly, I don't expect him to watch an hour and 15-minute podcast, right? But he could,
that he's never heard of before.
But you never know. Maybe every now and then I'll search Braxton Hunter and I'll see videos I didn't have any clue.
But if you look on
Jonathan Pritchett,
yeah, on Twitter, we have been notified though that at least somebody said that both Timcast was his favorite political thing and we were their favorite apologetics thing, and he was glad to see there was some overlap or something. So, but I think most people would rather IP be on there than us, which tracks. One day we'll be as awesome as IP. But not this day.
Yeah, I was
Bryson Gray. That's right.
And I was trying to figure out that shrieking about the science of transgenderism and denying the biology of homosexuality is the height of hypocrisy. Great job, everyone. I'm not sure what we're saying here.
Well, put it on the screen so everyone can know.
Yeah, I want to be pretty clear that I think that both homosexuality and what has come to be known as gender ideology is opposed to biblical Christianity.
Yeah. I mean, we have a different position than like Tim Pool on that.
Maybe he means because I didn't, but when about this shirt, I said something like, oh, well, maybe I wouldn't have called it out. That's only because it takes us off on a whole other topic, but we went ahead and went on that topic. Right. So,
because like Tim Pool's position on that, he doesn't care once you're over 18, do whatever you like, but he's like, don't mess with the kids, which I can't believe we can't get everyone around,
That should be easy. Yeah. That should be.
But the fact that it isn't, it's like, it's maddening. Did IP go on Timcast? No, but I would love for him to. I mean, I'd rather Braxton and I go on there, but I mean, IP's got a bigger platform, so he's more likely. Unless Tim Pool has a soft spot and wants to help us out.
Y'all are now naming a bunch of people I don't know. I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, I don't either. But
anyway, believe it or not, you said Tucker Carlson. He's been all over the news lately. Never seen an episode. I've never seen Tucker Carlson do anything.
I don't have cable.
I don't watch cable news.
Do you have cable?
Yeah, but
you actually have cable?
Our condo gives it to the whole condo.
Oh, well.
I mean, it comes out of our HOA fee.
Oh.
Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
We'll see you later, folks. This has been great. And listen, we got stuff coming at the beginning of next week that's going to blow your mind. Now I just got to go figure out what it is. And Pritchett, why don't you close us out?
Yes. I would just like to say that we are fans of Tim Pool. Whenever we watch it, we usually like it. We are glad that they have these conversations and mix worldview in with politics and stuff. But we really want Tim Pool to answer these questions so that it could give him to think through the implications of the beliefs that he has expressed. And if he ever wants to talk to us about it, we're happy to talk. And by the way, if you're watching this and you've made it to the end, did you know that if you want to learn formally Bible-y stuff, theology, apologetics, pastoral ministry, preaching. You can get your theological education by going to www.TrinitySem.edu. Come fill out an eval form. If you're considering a degree, undergraduate, graduate, we got them. Check out our website, fill out the eval form, and learn from professors you've actually heard of, like Braxton Hunter, Jonathan Pritchett, Tim Stratton, Leighton Flowers, Chris Date, Jim Chatham, others. TrinitySem.edu.
Real quick, because he asked me a couple times and I meant to answer it. Yeah, I watched the Hernandez debate and talked to Eric about it afterwards. I thought Eric did well. I think I probably will do a debate video on it. Maybe I'll have Eric on to talk about it. But I thought that Eric did a really good job. I like the other guy. I thought he did okay. I think I think in the cross-ex, maybe Eric got the better end of it, but I don't know. But it was a very enjoyable discussion. I liked it, and I loved the venue. Venue was awesome. Pritchett, did you see it? You didn't see it.
Yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's
He's
in
your
my
favorite apologist.
Yes, I know. That's why it's one of the few Christian YouTubers that's actually in my watch later thing on YouTube.
All right. Well, with that, we'll see you next time on Trinity Radio.